Welcome back. Now, the mining sector was one of the positive contributors to the country's third quarter GDP data. And in the month of October, output increased by 1.4% year on year, driven by PGM, chromium ore, diamond and coal production. All good on the surface, but mining analyst Peter Major points out that mining output has been on a steady decline since the 1990s. While the Fraser Institute highlights that South Africa has lost its appeal as the most attractive mining territory in the world to now being one of the worst places for mining companies to operate in. Peter joins us with greater perspective on the sector. Thank you so much for your time, Peter. Before we actually go into the broader landscape of mining, it was quite interesting for me to read out of these October mining production numbers is that the commodities with the lower pricing actually recorded increased production, and the commodities with the higher pricing posted lower production. Is there anything to read from that, or is it just random month-to-month data?
It pretty much is, Sinati. I'll tell you this, though. 2024 has probably been the quietest, least volatile year we've had in commodities in at least a decade. If I look at the main commodities, many of them have been going flat for 12 months. Last 3 months, last 12 months, flat. We have had some increases, and that's what came through in the figures here. Coal prices increased from about 95 to 110. But then that was countered out by iron ore that decreased from $140 to 95. But after that, all the other commodities, gold has gone up. Yeah, gold's gone up from 2,200 to 2,700. So coal and gold are looking great, but iron ore and chrome came down. So the net result is, like you said, 1.5%. Okay, big deal, big change. So overall, it's been a pretty quiet month, a pretty quiet year. You know, not many big changes, flat prices.
Yeah. I mean, Peter, a lot of the commodity prices have also been impacted by geopolitics and also policies coming out of countries like China. We do have the Chinese stimulus coming online. Are you expecting any significant upside for South Africa's mining industry from that?
No, I'm not. We were all hoping, and China's been putting through a few stimulus packages this whole year. And that is arguably tied with the world's largest economy, you know, China and America.
Yeah.
But all I read after these packages come out is fund managers unimpressed, bank managers unimpressed. In other words, China's making an effort, but it looks like it's not a big enough effort and it's not in the right place. That's the trouble when you have an economy that large, though. It almost takes a nuclear bomb to make something happen.
Yeah.
So they had unbelievable growth, double-digit growth for 30 years. It's inevitable it comes down to where it is now, like 4 to 5%. You know, we would die to get 4 or 5% in this country.
Yeah. Peter, talk to me then about the fact that South Africa has lost its shine in terms of appetite for mining companies, for investment. Talk to me about the main drivers behind that, and really what is being done, if there is anything being done, and what should be done on that front.
Sinati, this is really a textbook case of how to destroy an industry. And boy, it should be taught in every school around the world, not just in economics, but in finance, in accounting, everything. You know, we had thousands of policy changes and legislative changes to an industry that was a world leader. Now, if you're winning motocross races or Grand Prix car races year after year, you don't radically change your team and your car engine and the way you do things. If you think you got an idea to make an improvement, by all means, submit it, and test it off the circuit. Don't test it during the race. And we didn't do that. We came through with massive documents pieced together by dozens, if not hundreds of people. And we had input from foreigners, consultants, from Marxists, Leninists, capitalists, socialists, thugs. Oh boy, the syndicates and the mafia, they got to put their 2 cents in. Yeah. So the result is we have a mess. We have a mess that's going to take, even if everybody in the country wanted to clean it up, it's going to take united, focused effort.
Well, you talk about the thugs, Peter. It's really a mess, and you've been a mining analyst for a very long time. What have you made of the escalating illegal mining that we are seeing in South Africa? And really, has it just been left to run wild?
Unfortunately, yes, Sanati. It has been left because it's too big for our army and police force to handle. It's too big for our politicians to handle, even though we got more ministers than probably any country in the world, because they have too many other crises. They have too many things taking their attention, most of which aren't related to the average man here. So yeah, the syndicates are making buco bucks, highest gold price ever, largest unemployed mining force ever. Well, those two just go great together. You know, it's so easy to recruit unemployed miners. It's so easy to make money at the highest gold price the world's ever seen. And if you're a syndicate and a zama, you don't have to follow any of the thousands of rules that our politicians have written for legitimate companies. So it's a storm that's not going to go away. It's a perfect storm.
And there is no low-hanging fruit in terms of the approach that authorities need to take here to eradicate the scourge.
You know what? Even if they changed all of our policies and made them back to where they were, they can't attract foreign investment now because everything else has chased the foreign investors away. So no, there's no quick approach. Yeah. You would have to improve the investment climate, and you'd have to improve the police force and improve the army, military.
Peter, just from conversations that you're also having, because we've had a number of own goals here in South Africa, including load shedding and also the logistics sector. We haven't had load shedding really this year, but also we still have the sticking point of the logistics sector that has hobbled the mining sector and just the general economic growth in the country. Are there any improvements that you've maybe heard in conversations there?
Look, the absence of load shedding is a real plus, and that's not imaginary. There's good reasons for it, and there's bad reasons for it. The good reasons are that the B component of Eskom has been really reined back, and instead of going for selective employment, they're letting Eskom employ the people and suppliers that give them the best service, that have the experience, that know what they're doing, and they come in at a good cost. Another factor, but it's a negative, is the fact that we are deindustrializing. This country has less industry than 20, 30 years ago. So we only need the electricity that we had 20, 30 years ago. And that's a sad reality. So it benefits us by not having load shedding. But the bottom line is you've had to cut your industrial production dramatically over the decades to avoid load shedding. That's not what you want. You want a utility company like Eskom growing alongside the economy. If the economy was growing 3, 4, 5%, you want Eskom to grow 3, 4, 5. You don't want Eskom to finally come to terms with flat production and the rest of the economy is sinking below where they were, and so we don't have load shedding. So it's great we don't have load shedding now, but when you really look at the reasons, half of them are really scary and sad.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have to wrap up the conversation there, Peter. Thank you so much for your time and for your analysis on the mining sector. That was mining analyst Peter Major.